The top 10 matchup in Eugene, Indiana, Oregon. I'm really excited for this one, I am. And number one is because I love watching Oregon football play. If you guys have followed my content at all, Oregon football is near the top of the list for me. I've always been so high on them. They're fun to play, and they are a well-oiled machine. And they're not only a machine, they're a machine that's going to kick your ass in every phase of football. Whether it's Dante Moore, that's the best quarterback in college football, whether it's true freshman De'Ara Hill or DeCorian Moore, who might be two of their best skill position players, whether it's a defense that before Penn State didn't give up a single passing touchdown and has given up one the entire season, and a defense that averages around 10 points per game against, is a team that Mike Gundy said something about them and they whooped his ass. That was fun to watch. Or nobody was giving them a chance against Penn State. I guess some people were. Like, I said they were going to win, then I said they were going to lose. I just couldn't pick against Penn State, but here I am. And Oregon went in there. You saw the Dan Lanning documentary video from that. He is one of the best coaches and motivators in America. And Oregon's so much fun to watch. They really have it all. They have stars. They have first-rounders, right? Dante Moore, DeCorian Moore, De'Ara Hill, Kenyon Sadiq, Matayu Uiagalelei, Dylan Thieneman, Bryce Botcher. You're looking at a lot of guys that could go in the first round in the future, right? And that's going to be it for as long as Dan Lanning's there. And he's not leaving Oregon. Something came out today. Again. Because why would you? Because Dan Lanning said it. The grass is damn green in Eugene. And, national championship contender bona fide. This game's bigger for Indiana. It is. Indiana last year, when they were 10-0, had to go to the Horseshoe against Ohio State, and we know how that went. This is the same game, but earlier. Indiana's a top 10 team in the country. They've pretty much destroyed everyone they played besides that game against Iowa 2 weeks ago. And now it's put your money where your mouth is and go prove it. On the road against a Big Ten opponent that is, quite frankly, the nicest way possible, better than you. Oregon's a better team than Indiana. They are. But this is what Coach Sig does. I win. Google me. That's what he does. And Illinois went into Bloomington, and Indiana kicked the shit out of them. They went for 600 yards on the ground. They held an offense that averages around 30 points per game to 10. And then they went in other ways, too. They went to Iowa, Kinnick Stadium, really hard place to play. They were trailing. And then that touchdown at the end. And Fernando Mendoza is a damn good quarterback, and I'll talk about that for a second. But let's talk about Coach Sig, because all he does is win. And again, if they win tomorrow, it's the biggest win in Indiana program history, and this team will make the college football playoff if they win tomorrow. Because look at the rest of their schedule. Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, at Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue. They might lose to Penn State, all the other ones. If they beat Oregon, you're never picking against them. So, yeah, huge game for Oregon and Indiana. I think it's bigger for Indiana. And if Dan Lanning, I don't know what his motivation is, but if I had to guess, knowing how I cover college football and knowing what Dan Lanning is saying, why is anybody picking them when they're coming into our house? Oregon is 40-1 or like 43-1 in their last 44 games at Autzen Stadium. Indiana's traveling to the West Coast. And yeah, so if you're Dan Lanning, you're saying, why are we not getting the attention? We just beat Penn State in the whiteout game. We traveled 6 hours, our young team, against an experienced Penn State game in one of the most hostile environments in college football. And we won, and we dominated them. Yeah, sure, they came back, but we dominated them, and we responded. And now Indiana's coming. Let's do what we did to Oklahoma State and Montana State at Autzen. Let's do what we did to Oregon State and kick the shit out of them. Kick the crap out of them. Oregon's played 3 games at home this year. 59-13, 69-3, 41-7. Everything tells me that Oregon will blow at Indiana if that's the case. But before I get into the keys and the predictions, let's talk about Indiana a little more, because Indiana absolutely deserves all the respect in the world. They are a top 15 team. I wouldn't call them top 10. Fernando Mendoza has been incredible. If the season ended right now, Heisman finalist, for sure. The one person I put above him, Dante Moore. But look at Mendoza's stats. 73% completion rate, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception. They have 2 running backs in Roman Hemby and Black that both run for over 350 yards on the season. 1-2 punch, good as any in the Big Ten? Probably not, but it's good. And I'm only saying that because the Big Ten has some good duos, right? We're talking about the Hills, and I guess Mekhi Hughes is redshirting. Oregon could give it to Benson, too. Ohio State is Bo Jackson, Peoples, Donaldson. I mean, you got to look at Allen and Singleton at Penn State. But yeah, wide receivers, yeah. I mean, Elijah Surratt and Omar Cooper Jr., that is a great combo. Both have had over 400 yards on the season and 6 touchdowns. Mendoza loves throwing them the ball. And then you go to the other side, right? One, you have Leonard Moore, or Louis Moore, sorry, leading the team in tackles, 3 interceptions on the season already. And Aiden Fisher, first team All Big Ten last year, he is the guy in the middle that anchors that defense. And Indiana knows how to pressure the quarterback. Indiana really does know how to pressure the quarterback. I mean, they have 3 guys with over 3 sacks this year. They have around, I got to scroll for the total. They have 16 on the season. That's more than Penn State had. And, so Oregon has it tough. Indiana's a good team, and you know Sig's going to have his team damn prepared. And it's a huge game for Indiana because if they win, it's their biggest win in their program history. Going to Autzen Stadium, a place where Oregon rarely loses, and winning, yeah, that would be huge. And Indiana could win this game. They could. They're a good and talented team. And they showed they could win on the road against Iowa. And they showed they could take it to a Big Ten opponent in Oregon. Or in Illinois, rather. Sorry about that. And with that, let's get to my prediction.
There we go.
Prediction. Disclaimer, anything I say here is not to disrespect the Indiana football program. It is to praise Oregon. Everything I have looked at has told me that the spread is too low for this game. It's 7.5. I think it should be more like 14. Why? 1, Oregon doesn't lose at home. They barely lose at home, right? Ohio State, number 1 team in the country, went in there. They beat them last year. This year, Montana State, Oklahoma State, Oregon State all got destroyed. Indiana's better than all 3 of those teams combined? Yeah. Oregon doesn't lose at home. 2, I could go to last year when Indiana had to play a top 10 opponent in Ohio State. They went in there and they got rocked. And if you don't want me to go to last year, because yeah, it's a different team. They have a better quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. The defense is pretty similar. They have better skill position players, arguably. I mean, you return Surratt, Cooper Jr. is good. Hemby, he's a really hard guy to bring down. Was at Maryland too. If you don't want me to go that one, let's go to Iowa. Let's go to the Iowa game. It was 20-15 at Kinnick Stadium against an Iowa team that, looking at the game, if I'm pulling the team stats up right now, Iowa threw for 192 in the air, 92 on the ground. Indiana outgained them. I'm telling you right now, Oregon will throw for more than 200 yards. They'll run for more than 100. This is a well-oiled machine that knows how to score. If you want to put metrics on this Oregon offense, they average 46 points per game, 503 yards per game. Oregon is like an opponent that Curt Cignetti has never seen in his coaching career. And so that's number 1. Oregon offense and Dante Moore versus Indiana's defense. Dante Moore is the best quarterback in the country. Indiana's defense, yeah, they've been good. Indiana's defense, yeah, props to them. I mean, you're talking about a defense that's given up 9.6 points per game. They know how to pressure the quarterback, especially on the air. I mean, 133.4 yards per game is top 5 in the Big Ten. Dante Moore versus the Indiana passing defense is number 1. Because if Dante Moore does what he did in Penn State or any time that he's put on the Oregon uniform and played, yeah, Indiana's in trouble because Dante Moore is the best quarterback in the country. That's 1. Number 2. Indiana and Fernando Mendoza, can they get protected? Can the Indiana offensive line protect Fernando Mendoza in a harsh Autzen Stadium environment? Because Oregon can get to the passer. Matayo Uiagalelei, Wyatt, Davis, Tuioli, whoever you want to throw out there. I totally botched that spelling. Oregon's not a team that's going to kill you by getting to the quarterback. But what they are going to do is send pressure, especially in the run game. And then that's why their pass defense is so good. Dan Lanning rebuilt this secondary, right? Oregon lost 8 defensive starters, or 9. The 2 they brought back were Bryce Botcher and Matayo Uiagalelei. They have a combination of freshmen and transfers. Dylan Thieneman, yeah, number 1 safety. What does he do? Get the game-winning pick against Penn State. And number 3 is just, I guess, Coach Sig versus the big game. I know that's a lame one. I'm going to give a lame one for everyone. I really am. But Coach Sig last year, when Indiana went to Ohio State, they got absolutely killed. They scored the first touchdown, but after that, it was really, really hard to watch them. It really was. And then Ohio State pulled away. And Indiana did that against Illinois. Top 10 matchup, top 15 matchup. I forgot what Indiana's ranked. And they killed them. But then the next week, they went to Iowa, and Iowa competed with them. And again, not to tarnish Iowa, because whatever Iowa is, I could talk about that another time. They're not Oregon, because no team in the country is Oregon. Oregon will run it down your throat. They'll air it out with Dante Moore on the other side of the ball. They'll hit you in the jugular. Cut, cut, cut. So Coach Sig versus Dan Lanning is my last one. Because Indiana hasn't seen a team like Oregon. Has Oregon seen a team like Indiana? No. Like, you can make an argument Penn State's better than Indiana. No one's making that argument right now. I'm not making it. I'm not. I think Indiana's better than Penn State right now. But they might not be as talented. So maybe Oregon's seen a team. They've definitely seen a team with the same talent level, and they've definitely been more tested up to this point. Dan Lanning, again, one of the best motivators in America, will have his team ready. And Coach Sig will have his team ready too. But Oregon being in Autzen, they're going to protect the house. And you know that. And they had 2 weeks to prepare. Indiana had 2 weeks to prepare too, so that might be unfair for me. But I trust Dan Lanning way more in 2 weeks, especially coming off that. Like I said, I think the spread is too low. I think Oregon blows out most of the teams they play at Autzen Stadium. I think Indiana's not that good on the road. They almost lost to Iowa on the road. When they played a top 10 opponent in 2024, they got blown out. I think Oregon, there's a real chance they run the doors off Indiana. I still think Indiana's a good football team, but I think there are 3 very good teams in Oregon, Ohio State, and Miami, and Oregon's going to show it again. I'm not saying too much attention's been on Indiana, but this game might be more about them. And Oregon didn't play last week, but they just went into Penn State and won the whiteout game. They want to remind people who they are. And they'll remind people who they are by punching Indiana over and over and over again. Because anywhere you want to look with Indiana, Oregon could one-up them. They really, really can. Fernando Mendoza's been great. The one quarterback better than him this season, Dante Moore, right? Roman Hemby, Dyer Hill. Jaden Lamar, yeah, Oregon has a good rushing attack. The best receiver in this game might be true freshman DeCorian Moore. It really might be. 19 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 296 yards. They have Malik Benson too. Kenyon Sadiq is better than any Indiana tight end. And the defense, I mean, yeah, Indiana gives up points. Like, yeah, sure. Sure. Like, I understand they've given up 9.6 points per game this season. Look at who they played. The Illinois game was the one testament. Iowa never scores. They haven't seen an opponent like Oregon or this high-octane Oregon offense that averages over 500 yards per game and over 40 points per game. I just think Oregon's going to overpower them. I really do. I think there's a real chance Oregon stomps them to the ground. I think Dan Lanning's going to motivate them. Whatever Sig says, yeah, like he's not going to take shots at the program. He's not going to take shots at Lanning because we saw how that went with Mike Gundy. But what I will tell you is Dan Lanning has said this over and over again. He was saying it leading up to the whiteout. We don't need motivation to go play football and beat your ass. And they're not going to need extra motivation against Indiana. What they're going to need, you're playing a top 10 team in Autzen Stadium, one of the best environments of college football. And I think that's enough for Oregon to beat Indiana by multiple scores. Ducks 45, Hoosiers 20. Ducks 45, Hoosiers 20. I think Oregon blows them out. Is it because I'm too high on Oregon? Maybe. And if I'm proved wrong, I'm proved wrong. But everything is telling me Oregon's going to run away with this game, even if it's a late score that makes it 21. The Ducks just keep on rolling. This will not set Indiana back a lot. They'll still finish with 2 losses, 3 losses. But they haven't seen a team like Oregon, and Oregon's going to show that. So Ducks 45, Hoosiers 20.